All right. Welcome back, everybody, for episode 2 of the MERC at Work podcast. Well, I should say part 2. Being rookies at podcasting, we had a little bit of technical difficulty with podcast number 1, but we rolled it into a two-parter. So double the fun with founder Wade Byerly. So you get to enjoy 2 rounds of this. So Wade, Kobe, welcome back for part 2.
Glad to be back.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we left off talking a little bit about where MERC's going and our Arrevo software platform that we've built and we're starting to implement with customers. Let's segue off of that into some of our other service lines. And Wade, you can take it wherever you want, and some of the vision that you had, and maybe some of the starts of those things, and where you see some of that going as it continues in 2025 and beyond.
Okay. Well, I'm just making a couple notes here real quick. I think, as we probably talked a little bit in part 1, we knew that we would accumulate data, and the service lines that we offer facilitated that. And the first and foremost is the inventory is the foundation of all asset management. I mean, you've got to get your head wrapped around not only what you have and where it's located in that sort of thing, but we really believe that, and I think we may have covered some of this in the first part, but if you're going to, we believe that if you're going to invest the time and effort in engaging our services to stand in front of a piece of equipment, let us give you an assessment of that piece of equipment. Conditional assessment, just real simple. We've been at this for what's going to be 18 years. And in those 18 years, and then of course, even some of it even further back, but certainly, in my experience, but in those 18 years, I mean, we've seen multiple generations of equipment. And so when we're standing in front of that device, we have a very good idea of how current that piece of equipment is and approximately what era it was bought. And then also just judging that physical condition so that we can in turn come back and say, we're looking at this piece of equipment. We believe it's in good condition or fair condition or what have you. So in the process of doing that, then we're in a position to start understanding remaining useful life, which is a real key building block for our analytics and the benefits that derive from that and is available. We talked a little bit about Arrevo and the benefits of Arrevo, utilizing those analytics. So estimated remaining useful life is just incredibly valuable. But estimated remaining useful life is a function of what we refer to as estimated standard full life. And that is, hey, I've opened up the box, I've put the defibrillator in place. How long can I expect this to really live? Mm-hmm. And we're collecting pretty significant amount of data on that, and even experientially, we've accumulated enough information that we're making recommendations about standard full life of a device, of which again, estimated remaining useful life becomes a subset of that. If this is 100% and this has lived 75% of its life already, and there's only 25% remaining. What does that translate in terms of months? Um, and then, of course, for all of that are main contributors to valuation. And
Mm-hmm.
valuation is, in many cases, I mean, that's what facilitates uh, opportunities for healthcare organizations to merge or combine or acquire or what have you. And um, as you're joining and looking at a new asset portfolio, understanding that value is absolutely vital. We think it's vital as a key component, as we mentioned in the first part. We really see asset value as a key component of estimated remaining useful life as well.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the service offerings or the key building blocks of what it is that we do. And so then you start looking at that, and of course we started out with the inventory, and if we're supplying this kind of information, this has tremendous value back to the finance people, back to your purchasing departments, and understanding remaining useful life, and how that gets how you start planning for replacement. uh, and we really encourage our customers to work strategically, so that when they're replacing items, that it doesn't uh, it doesn't come as a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
That you're proactively working with your clinical departments, that you can identify and say, we're we're taking a look at this from the information that we have, um, and evaluating that this is, we think this needs to be replaced in the next year or 2 years or what have you. And especially big ticket items, you need to start thinking that far out ahead, because you may have there may be construction considerations, there may be strategic facility development plans that you're working on. But again, these great big fixed items, you really want to have your head wrapped around that life and that value, so that you understand what the appropriate next steps are. So yeah, these are all things and ways that our customers have used us. Again, inventory starts at all. We've helped many customers transition from one location to another, making the right decisions in terms of what should move and redeploy and what should not. We've helped our customers in terms of liquidating surplus assets that didn't make the cut. We've uh, Customers will call us and say, we're looking at buying this particular device. It's been refurbished. We're seeing this type of a price point. What do you think? And we'll come back to them and say, that might look like a really a good purchase, or no, we've been able to evaluate that particular item over the last 12 or 15 years. Maybe not quite that long, but again, you get the picture over a space of time of that life of that device, and might be able to say, you're just this is maybe not a good time to purchase that specific piece of equipment. That information itself may, the secondary market may be sitting there going, gosh, we wish that people wouldn't uh, you know be that specific about things. But again, we value, or we have done the things that we have done to support the healthcare provider and the equipment that they own and they acquire, and help match the appropriate length of time that they've either used that piece of equipment, or if they're looking at acquiring a different piece of equipment. So just all of that to um, right size your purchases, to make sure that you don't use a piece of equipment beyond its life, and then find yourself in what we refer to as a negative equity position. So uh, transition planning and the procurement support that we provide through Arrevo, and the valuation services, all of those things that just lend itself to a complete understanding of an asset portfolio, which accounts for very, very significant value in comparison to the entire enterprise itself. I mean, you get your bricks and mortar. Obviously, you've got the expenses for your um, your staff and employees and your team, your colleagues, but then you've got these other assets, fixed and mobile, that carry a significant imprint on the facility, and our job is to help you use them to the right time and get the most value out of that experience.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned there, and we've talked about it a little bit uh, in episode one, and we talk about it internally all the time, is the focus on the customer, the provider. And you mentioned how that's who our customer is, and it might cause the secondary market to get a little uptight about how we would offer our consulting services to the provider, but that's who we focus on. That's who we're trying to help, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that and how we've always oriented our services that way.
Well, I came out of the hospital environment. I was I mentioned in, I think, the first one, first part one. I uh, started out in Indiana, in Anderson, Indiana, at a community hospital there, and ultimately was at the University of Colorado Health Sciences Center before it moved out to the Fitzsimmons campus, and all of my work through the in the sides of the GPO, it was um, it was always about aligning uh, benefit to the healthcare provider, and that's our orientation. That's you can't straddle the fence in terms of I'm helping the provider, I'm helping the vendor. You can do that as a GPO, but the GPO is in fact taking that the members' initiatives and contracting on behalf of the member at scale. So
Mhm.
again, it's a member-driven, provider-driven initiative, and a lot of our orientation is that way. I'm not saying that we're a GPO, but to say that what we're trying to do is create benefit, significant benefit, um, and actionable data and analytics that allow the member to have not just a better understanding, but better leverage when the time comes to replace a device, better marketing, or excuse me, but negotiation leverages, and
Mhm.
and identify the appropriate timing and things of that nature, and that's our orientation. That's who we are. The Like I said in the first one, I spent time on the other side of the fence, and it was not who I was. That's not to say that those we have to have the vendors.
Yeah,
We have
there's value
the
there.
equipment. This is really, really vital. But
Mhm.
let's kind of create level out the playing field. That's what we're trying to do here, is
Mhm.
making sure that that we're not that things are being done in such a way that it creates the it's your dollars that you're spending. We want to make sure that they go as far as they possibly can. So
Yeah, I mean, there's two things I think about. One is, there's these Kelly Blue Books and Edmunds and things like that, and that's a really good consumer oriented product for, helping people buy cars. It's like they are they are helping people make decisions that way, and but they've taken the approach, it's, this is information to help the consumer. And it takes me back to a little bit of a story that I had a vendor that spoke to me and said, what would you do with all that data? I mean, could we access it? And I just told him, I said, I know that that's of value to you, and I know that that would be you know, you'd have access to a lot of really vital information and how to sell your product. But that's our customers' data. That's who we work for. That's who we're going to stick to. And I think that's been a real separator for us. Just to the customer knows that when we come in the door that we're serving them, and this isn't it's not escaping out, and they're not going to start hearing from vendors saying, hey, we know you've got a CT scanner that's a little old, and we're ready to help you replace it. Those phone calls aren't going to be coming in that way through anything that we do. So I think that is a real key separator for us. What are there some other things that you, as you've led and built the company, that you feel are things that kind of differentiate us from, whether it's competition or maybe not even competition, but just what it is that we do that is kind of different and brings value to the market.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna back up to the earlier comment that you made about having that vendor approach you, and if you'll recall the conversation that we had with another one of our customers, and we were talking about that sort of thing, and they were like, yeah, the minute that we feel that you're not in our corner, that's the end of our relationship.
Yeah.
And I've seen examples, and I don't want to necessarily go and call them out, but I've seen people who have created vendor relationships um, outside of the GPO world that uh, back to their customers, and uh, it's had a certain degree of success, but um, generally it creates, I think, a conflict of interest. Um, so if you are going with the healthcare organization's best interest in mind in terms of identifying the optimal time to uh, move off of a piece of equipment, and you in doing that, you're creating the kind of leverage in the marketplace and the ability to negotiate, um, giving them the tools and the information for which to do that. Then you, you just that was you just have a hard time straddling that fence, and that's just not what we're about. And our customers appreciate that from what this customer had, yeah, that was his comment as well. So,
Mhm.
um, so say again, what was the other?
I was just going to say that's one separator, I think, for us.
Yeah,
Are there any other things? One of the things that just came to my mind during this discussion is a lot of times internally we use the term. It sounds a little extreme, but maniacal customer
yeah,
service. Um, maybe you can dive into that a little bit and say kind of what that means to Merck. It's been kind of a culture from the beginning, so maybe that's one of the real keys to who that we are as well.
yeah, yeah. Um, since we exist to support the healthcare provider community, whether they're non-acute or acute care providers, might even be primary care providers. We did that during what I call the great consolidation, or the great employment of the physician, uh, early, you know early 2010 ish,
Mm-hmm.
12, 14. Last of it that we did was actually, more towards 2018. Um, but during that whole time, we get phone calls from customers, and they'd say, "We'd like to, we need your services, but we need them like right now." And and we might say, "Look, we can't do it tomorrow or the next day, but if you can wait till this time next week, we can be at the site." And that ability to be responsive to our customers' needs have been, I think that's really important. The other thing uh, is that when we work with a customer, um, again, I had uh, nearly 10 years of healthcare, working in a healthcare patient care delivery environment, and in those settings, you know how to prioritize patient care over everything at that point. Yes, do the supplies need to get there? Yes, they do, but not in anything that disrupts patient care. Um, uh, we developed methodologies at the University of Colorado that in order to pre-plan distribution of materials based on the surgery schedule, and that type of things, everything that we could be very, very high uh, service delivery, and that had to do with creating a customer service environment for our clinicians. So that same attitude is something that we carried over as we formed MERC, um, and we because of my background, and it's become uh, pervasive culture that we understand that your primary responsibility as a provider is to give patient care, and what we do has to be inobtrusively woven into that day, um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, especially as we're looking at the pieces of equipment. And what's just a delight and uh, is that our customers have come back and said, "Man, we didn't. That was painless." I just that's
Yeah.
and it doesn't just happen once. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole that was painless has probably been repeated to us dozens of times,
Yeah.
and we hardly even knew you were there. You
Mm-hmm.
just, your people,
Yes.
they get that feel. Our people, as we've worked together, it's part of our culture is to blend and not, and just to be really inobtrusive. Because we've done so many of them, we know how to blend. So it's not,
Mm-hmm.
it's, we're not sitting there, um, we know when to go and check with somebody to say, "Hey, look, is this a situation that we need to wait on because of what you're doing here, or this is what we're going to be doing," giving them the advance notice, and like especially in some of the acute care environments when you enter into to an entire ward that or a department and just say, "Hey, this is what we're here, this is what we're doing." Uh, what type of things you should you want us to know about, so that we're
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything to disrupt. They might be sitting there saying, "Hey, there's a we're doing an ultrasound in this particular room. It'll be done in 15 minutes. Please work in this other area and sequence that around." It was like, great. And that's what we try to do. So that's another area where just our familiarity with the delivery of patient care.
That's what I was gonna say too, is just the familiarity and the healthcare knowledge has helped us to, that experience has helped us to really integrate into the facilities to where, like you said, time and time again, we hear, "Well, that was painless," or, "Wow, that was so much quicker than we expected," or, "You guys were fast," or, "We didn't even know you were here," or all of those kind of comments. It's
Yeah.
like it's been it's like you said, it's woven into the culture of how we deliver things, and that's We love it. You walk out of a facility and you've had that. That's like a big pat on the back. That's major
Yeah.
kudos. You it gives a little pep in your step as you're leaving. So
Yeah.
that's been something that we've always tried to achieve. And people get a little concerned when someone's coming in during patient care, and then an hour later when the facility's done and they're expecting us to have been there all day, they're just like, wow, it only took you an hour. Hey, we didn't even know you were here. You got in between the cases even and everything. So yeah, no, that's I totally agree with you. It's that's been something that's been woven in, and definitely with valued that leadership and guidance that you've helped provide through that with your background too.
Well, again, it's taking something that you want to take and translate the knowledge and experiences that you've had and shorten the learning curve for somebody else that's on your team so that
Yeah.
they can have that and especially the kind of work that we're doing, understanding kind of how the flow of how patient care is delivered. That's just a it's just a big plus for us. It really is. Another thing that's a big plus, and it's kind of similar to that, is that we again I brought this from my background, but to share it, it has been part of, when we bring somebody on board, we actually take the time to explain to them a little bit about what it is the equipment that they're using. So they'll walk up to this
Yep.
arthroscopy tower, and then you start out and you've got this, you've got this monitor, and then you've got a cart, and then you've got light source and instrument drivers and insufflators and different things like that that'll be
Mhm.
on there, and you're sitting there saying, and I think Kobe, you could probably relate, but
Yep.
we'd sit there and work, and I'd just sit and say, the screen helps them see what they're going to see. This is what provides the light when they go inside the site to do whatever they're doing in the minimally invasive procedure, perhaps like on a knee, and these are the various this put a gas in there to help inflate that area so that they can work in it, and it just the whole thing, it takes somebody who who's learning this, and it gives them a much better and greater appreciation for what the end user is dealing with, and then helps us as we understand that piece of equipment's role in the delivery of care, and that creates the context of its useful life as well, because then as we see the technologies changing
Mhm.
within that type of care, that we have a much
Yes.
better understanding of how that's evolving, and some pieces are starting to become obsolete. I think one of the greatest examples along that line is we followed, and I don't always have the right terminology, but the some of the lighting used to be more halogen, and then they went into some of the other types of lighting, and then now we're predominantly LED, and we watched as that transferred, and then what we also watched is how the values would just, especially with halogen, how just plummeted, um, with the procedure or operating room lights, and that just helped us to evaluate equipment on behalf of our customers and say, hey, you're looking at these three rooms, and they all have halogen, or good news, they all have LEDs, and
Mhm.
that's the current standard of care,
Mhm.
and that's really important.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's that's all good insights there. So, well, I think we've covered a lot of ground. Well, we can. I think what would be a fun way to kind of wrap it up is to get a little bit of some personal and culture background. And Kobe, you want to lead off with, anything that you might have for Wade that would be so people get to know him a little bit better or know a little bit about the culture or things that he's done at Merck?
Yeah, definitely. So one thing I did want to ask was kind of touching about Revo. I know Revo's a little bit newer and kind of the development of Revo and where that thought came of and even the name of Arrevo and where you got that from as well. And I know
Sure.
Kyle can kind of chime in as that, for that as well, but
Yeah, we'll let Kyle talk about the name because, I that's probably a little near and dear to his heart. But what we again, when you're oriented to trying to create value, especially during the replacement episodes for our customers, one of the kind of holy grail things that we've pursued is the optimal time to replace a device, um, when it's got just the market value is appropriate and the has been depreciated fully, and then the other elements that factor in to identifying that this is the best time to do it. And a lot of that comes together with Arrevo. So we're collecting the data. We started doing a lot of the analytics longhand, and then it was like, um, this this would have benefit if we could automate this process. It includes benchmarking, and there's quite a number of other pieces of calculation that it goes in there to help our customers to really effectively manage both specific sites and specific modalities as they look across their organization at their replacement requirements. And so that was really a lot of what we were saying. And I think in the first part we said, where's the data going to take us? We started to see where it was going to take us, and we were doing it just like everybody else is like, okay, so now when I say doing it like everybody else, I'm talking about everybody else who generally automates a process.
Mm-hmm.
We had a longhand process, and we was like, this is too tedious and would have way too much value if we could put this in an automated fashion in front of people. And so, that was a key element of what drove Arrevo, and where our customers are seeing value in that. Kyle, I'll let you address the
One of the things that I was even going to say too is some of the things that are in Ariva were data points and information that the customers were getting, and in reports, valuation reports and things, and what we decided is like if they could have access to that constantly
yeah.
and even have the ability to manipulate some data and see how that affected things
Right.
and see what changes might do to their portfolio, like that kind of information could just be massive for them. So that's why we brought that out, and again, why we're so excited about it. To get onto the naming thing, we during the whole process of naming it, this we were it's one of those things as a marketer, and you have your team and you're trying to put together, hey, what sounds good, and we started coming up with some different ideas, uh, and stuff was kind of sticking here and there, and I finally asked my wife. My wife's an Italian, like from Italy, Italian, and I said, what's a good word that we could use that's Italian? Maybe we should throw something, you know, sounds a little exotic into this. And
Ferrari was taken.
yeah, Ferrari was gone, Maserati, anything like that. So, um, but we were like, what about like something about going on a journey or getting somewhere, because we felt that Arriva was going to help our clients take this journey to better clarity and capital planning. And she said, well, the term like destination, or when you've gotten somewhere, or when you've arrived at your gate at the airport, is Arrevo. And we were like, ooh, that's actually kind of cool. So we started stewing around on that. And then we said, yeah, we really like the name Arrevo, but let's change it a little bit. And instead of ARRIVO, we change it to ARREVO to signify the equipment element, the capital equipment and the medical equipment that we're looking at. So kudos to my wife for helping name the product, and it stuck and everyone liked it. So it's that's where it's come from, and I think it's a kind of a neat. When you've started a family business and you got some family involvement into it, and it kind of segues right out of if you look at the logo, it looks like it fits in the the culture and the other color schemes and logos and things that we use. It's just a good continuation of our products and services. So that's kind of the story behind the naming of it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I've always
Yeah,
thought that story was very interesting.
yeah. No, it's fun. So, Wade, uh, if you don't mind, maybe share like a hobby or something that people can uh, relate to. I think it'd be neat for our guests as they join the show to be able to share some things that they're interested in besides just healthcare and some of the things that make them who that they are, and that also helps listeners to sit and understand who they're dealing with and what drives them just beyond work. So maybe share a couple things that you do outside of work that kind of are hobbies or interests or service things that you do.
Yeah. Well, besides being active at church, um, probably the one single thing, those anybody that's read any of my posts out on LinkedIn, you know, uh, you and I have hit, and uh, we've we've had we've also taken the time for with employees. We haven't done this yet with Kobe, but we're looking forward to doing it with them. And that is to get out to a major league ballpark in a city that we might be visiting. That's always kind of fun, and just a great way if we're in a site for multiple days or in an area for multiple days. It's always great to have that opportunity and see different ballparks. So that's been fun. But probably the single thing that everybody that has known me over the years, go down the hall, turn to the right, the office that looks like a garage. That's where Wade's at. Is that I have an affinity for cars, and um, I've had this glass fronted legal bookcase for for years, and it's always got 18th scale cars in it, and I have a number of uh, signs that are from the old eras, and just old automobilia, memorabilia type signs, and I like older cars, although I'm not. I lack both the probably the patience and the and I'd done a little bit of work on cars, but would not just never seemed to have the time and the inclination to tear one down from to the frame and build it back up. But I do like older cars. Had a I've had quite a number of Jeeps. I have a Jeep that doesn't seem terribly old to me, but it's a '98, so that's
I
anymore.
think that's older than you, Kobe.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
a few years.
yeah. And looking looking into another. another potential acquisition right now, and I just this like like I wrote in that post, if it's four wheels and an engine, chances are I'm in.
Yeah.
So doesn't mean I don't like electrics. Still kind of getting my head wrapped around that. I think there's a place for it. Um, I'm not sure that, and I'm watching the technology, which in itself is fascinating. Um, but yeah, that cars, and just spending time with my family, and
Don't
we
forget your
Kyle's kids.
yeah, and don't forget your affinity for a good cup of coffee.
Oh yes,
Yeah, I was
well,
about to
and
say, you
everybody
gotta throw the
here,
coffee in there somewhere.
they got my black rifle mug here, enjoy their coffee, and we always, as we're traveling, was like, you know, no offense to the Green Mermaid, but we're always on the lookout for independent shops that'll, uh, you know, to get a great cup of coffee, and it's kind of fun. So yeah, we love and a little shout out to our good friend Ansel Lee. You know, he's right there with us. So
Yeah. Kobe, you've been indoctrinated that way already, so you know that
Yes, I have.
there's always a hunt for coffee taking place.
yeah,
Have it
there
on
you
me.
go.
Yeah. Well, definitely enjoyed that. Kobe, anything else for Wade before we let him go?
I think that's all I have. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we sure appreciate you taking the time. We sure appreciate round two. And for all the listeners that, come on and join the journey with us, we've got a really exciting list of upcoming guests already forming. And, we're just excited about this opportunity to, first off, share Wade's journey and background and starting the company, and now where it's going to take us for the next episode. So we look forward to that. Stay tuned and subscribe and listen, and we're excited to share those things with you. So thanks again, Wade. Thanks, Kobe.
Yep. Thanks, Wade.
All right, thanks a lot.
Have a good one.